One of the most anticipated books 2025, The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong, made a lot of fuss. Tons of interviews, celebrity endorsement. This book tried hard to get on our shelves. But was it worth it? Let's discuss. Ocean Vuong is famous for his poetry. His grand prose debut, On Earth Were Briefly Gorgeous, to be honest, stole my heart. And we expected quite a lot from his second book that took quite a lot of time to be written. I expected even more. Unfortunately, all my expectations were shattered. The blurb suggests that the book will tell us a story about a friendship of a young boy, Hai, and an elderly woman, Grażyna, on the fringes of American society. Here it's worth mentioning that this book, and in general Ocean Vuong's novels, they inherit quite a lot from the author, so you may find it quite helpful to learn the basics. Ocean Vuong is of Vietnamese origins and migrated to the USA at an early age. He also worked once at a fast food chain, so these things we will see in the book. The main character, Hai, is a 19-year-old boy that migrated with his family from Vietnam to the USA at an early age. I say the main character, not one of the main characters, because we see the scenes only when Hai is involved, suggesting that we see the world through his perception through a third-person narrative. Now let's quickly revise the plot so that to make sure we're on the same page. At the very beginning of the story, we find Hai standing at the edge of the bridge and he's about to give up on his life. That's exactly the moment when we meet the second main character, Grażyna. She's an elderly woman who sees this picture and she convinces Hai to step back and retreat to her house. There we find out that Grażyna has dementia and there is no one to look after her. So she offers Hai to stay, and having nowhere to go, Hai stays. Time passes by and we find out more about the characters. Eventually Hai lands a job at a fast food chain restaurant, home market, and he does it through his cousin Sonny, and there we also get acquainted with quite a lot of people, his new co-workers. We also know the stories about them, and that's now the characters that we are going to deal with through the plot. In the end, we know about the Hai's background, why he appeared at the edge of that bridge and what problems he has, how the society around him influences on him. We also see the year that Hai spends with Grażyna. We know about Grażyna, all his co-workers, more insights into the East Gladness life. And the ending gives us some kind of happy ending to everyone besides Hai and Grażyna. First, I would like to mention what I liked about the book, and it's definitely the narrative. It's really poetic, especially the first chapter that sets us into the East Gladness surroundings. I really like the first line that the hardest thing in life is to live only once, and it just sets the tone to the whole narrative. The story flows smoothly, slowly approaching the ending. I also like that the plot is actually well structured. There are a lot of details, like small ones, that I mentioned at the very beginning of the book and I still mentioned at the very end, like it was with this all long-lasting detective case with a murder. And yes, the case is not solved in the end, but we live not in the miracle world, right? So it's kinda life that the case is not solved, and I like the things that these details could be found throughout the plot, and you feel that the author remembers about what he's actually writing. I also like that this book is a bunch of nice quotes, and let me read two of them to show you what I mean. So the first one is when Hai reveals to Grażyna that he wants to become a writer, and thus he comments on writing. I just have to read a whole bunch first, 3 or 4 years of reading, then maybe I'll be ready to write. It's like pregnancy. That's my favorite one. The second one, Hai says to Sonny, trying to cheer him up or at least implying that everything is alright. Look, being fucked up is actually what's most common. It's the majority of who we are, what everybody is. Fucked up is the most normal thing in the world. You're both fucked up and you're normal. Got it? You may find much more quotes in the book and I like it. What also caught my eye is that Grażyna is so sarcastic in that unique Eastern way, and it's pictured so well that I believe it. It also kinda caught me off guard when it was mentioned that Hai deals with Grażyna's episodes by being present at the same timeline as she is, and it gives me some vibes of Time Shelter by Georgi Gospodinov. So if you're interested more in the topic, you can just read it, I recommend. And I like it that Hai is so attentive to the details, and he tries to come up with a plot, with some narrative to tell Grażyna every time she has these episodes. And actually, one of the most favorite part of the book that I truly liked was the topics or issues that are raised, and my favorite one is the generation conflict that we see between Hai's mother and him, and especially well it's pictured when they have a fight, because Hai is now failed once again and his mother is blaming him for this, and she implies that she gave him everything, like the basis, and why can't he simply be successful? It's that simple. And Hai says quite a lot of harsh things, but he means that you spent 20 years in the USA, and what do you have here? Meaning that his mother also didn't succeed. I like how it's pictured here because it's quite obvious that they don't understand each other. For Hai's mother, it's quite obvious that she struggled a lot. She suffered through the immigration. She has been suffering all these 20 years in the USA at this nail salon, and she gave everything she could to make Hai's life easier for him. In her perception, Hai has everything that she was bereft of. So it's quite obvious to me why she doesn't understand Hai, because to her, Hai has much more and she's not using all the chances. But for Hai, we see that Hai is under so much pressure because from childhood he was told that she should be nearly genius, she must succeed, and there is no other option. I don't hear words like, Hai, it's okay to be normal and ordinary. Hai, just find a job that you like, and it's okay just to be happy. Because I believe that's what every child should hear during childhood. I find this conflict really relevant because both sides forget that we're merely humans. We live our lives first time. Both Hai and his mother, they have only one life to go, and that's okay to make mistakes. It could happen, and it also could happen that a person is not the most successful human being in the world, because we're mostly like this, and that's okay. And that's why I like this quote that I have read to you about being fucked up, because that's what is normal. And now let's move on to the least nice part. Unfortunately, there are many more things that I didn't like about the book, and I believe that Ocean Vuong could do better. The biggest problem was that I didn't sympathize with the characters. We had the characters there with their life struggles, with their problems and issues, but I simply didn't feel it. Sometimes it seemed that these facts were simply stated and a reader is left to think of a way how to find it heartfelt. The only true character that I felt real and I sympathized in a way with him was Sonny, Hai's cousin, and I believe that's because we know about Sonny almost everything. I mean, it's the most well-written character in the book. I know his childhood, I know how he was treated badly in the childhood by both his family and others. I know his dreams, his struggles, that his illness is making some fuss about him. And I know his favorite movie and what makes him happy. So it makes him more real and human than any other person there. And I feel that Sonny, even though he has so many problems in his life, even though he's only 18 and he's faced with these problems, he lives not at home but at this social home, and his mother is in jail. But nonetheless, he's trying. He's doing his best to do something out of his life, and that's what I find the most beautiful about this man. Unfortunately, I didn't feel sorry for any other characters truly, because they wasn't that well written to me. all the people at home market, they were just there. Yes, their stories are worth mentioning, but I didn't feel some urge to say, sorry man, that your life is shit. Another thing that I liked was a deeper development of relationships between Hai and Grażyna, because at first we have this scene like, hi, would you like to stay here? Yes, Grażyna, I would like to. And then it's like several weeks passed. I mean, I would like to read about how they get used to each other, how they get acquainted, because it was only the first day they met each other, and now I see already how Hai is helping her. So I would like to read about more about exactly this part of the narrative. What I liked even more was some kind of elder wisdom from Grażyna. I really thought after reading the blurb that there would be some, I don't know, make this, do this, and so on, because when a person is at their 80s, I believe they have made a bunch of mistakes, choices, and there is something to tell. But there is nothing like, hi, stop fussing around and find a job, or I don't know, hi, would you please be so kind and not waste your youth and I don't know, find anything you like. So whatever it is, any side she chooses, I would like to hear it. I would like to hear what an elderly person would like to tell me, because that's exactly the time when we need to hear them out. But I don't see it in the book. Yes, we see Grażyna's childhood, some youth, and we know about her life, we meet her family in the end, but it's not enough for me, because I would like to hear what's result she would like to point out. I would like to know if she is satisfied and where she is now. Is she happy with her life? I mean, what's the point? One of the most hardest things for me was to find explanations and excuses to Hai. Even though we know his background, that he's an addict, he dumped the university because he was emotionally broken, that he has many struggles, we also know that actually he has a soft and tender heart and he's really helpful. He gives everything to people, to Sonny, Grażyna, to his grandmother. That's all perfect, but at the same time, he lies to his mother, he lets down Sonny but not giving the money, but at the same time this money was stolen from Grażyna, and this all just adds up, and in the end I'm left with the feeling why Hai is doing so. I mean, I have the logical explanation, but still as a person I can't really feel through that. I can't sympathize, because I find that although he's young and this life is actually the first attempt he has, he's still doing something wrong, or at least something that I wouldn't approve or I wouldn't do maybe in his place. I can't tell it for sure, but still something is off. And that's really hard when you read the book and the main character is not the person that you feel sorry for. You know, it sometimes may happen that you don't understand a person, like for example here I don't understand Hai, but with a book and an author that is explaining the background or some choices to you, you start to feel through it and you understand the person in the end. So it's something like eye-opening. But this book wasn't of that kind. I was the same person before I read it and now I'm still the same. So it didn't give me any insights in his mind that I would think differently now. Unfortunately, it wasn't the case. In the end, although The Emperor of Gladness has a well-thought plot and quite a lot of poetry in it, this is enough to make it emotional. I didn't feel anything and the narrative was slow-moving and plain to me. I feel that Ocean Vuong actually could do much better. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and see you!